And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the African American Athlete uh, live stream. I'm Ricky Hampton with my friend and frat brother, Michael Roberson, coming to you on a Wednesday evening, a Wednesday edition, pre 4th of July edition of the African American Athlete. What's happening, brother Michael? How you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing fine, and of course tomorrow is the other Independence Day. But I'm doing fine. It's been a minute though, so we got a lot of things that we haven't talked about.
Yeah, man, we got
New
we really
champions.
do. We missed last week. We got no. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I'm just saying, new champions, people in different places. So a lot going on, and then of course an absolute overreaction to what some people, the haters, want to call nepotism. And then, of course, when it's finally on our side, oh, this is just so unfair. So, a lot to talk about, and we'll make sure we delve into
And
it.
let's start in your area with the passing of the great Willie Mays. I mean, you know what? We start when he passed last week. You start hearing all these stories. I got so interested in him. I got to see him play a little bit, and it's not a lot of tape of Willie Mays.
All right.
So I actually bought his autobiography, and
Hmm.
it's really been an interesting read. You know, he played with the Birmingham Blackburns while he was still in high school down in Alabama, and the New York Giants signed him. He went to they sent him to their AAA team in Minneapolis, and I think he was 18, 19 years old when he got to Minneapolis. And Leo DeRocha was the manager of the Giants. DeRocha wanted to bring him to me now. I want him now. I said, Leo, he's a kid. He's 19 years old. Uh, Mays had a stretch, Mike, in Minneapolis where he went 38 for 63 at the plate, and they were catching everything, and it was to the point where he's playing center field. The manager just told his left fielder and right, y'all just guard the lines because Willie would get everything. Unbelievable,
That's
man.
respect right there.
Unbelievable. And they said the famous catch he made in Cleveland,
Yep.
not even his best catch. That was just a routine catch for Willie Mays. So I'm really enjoying this book, and the guy was a class guy off the field. Everybody loved him. You know, a lot of times you get these new cats in town. People were jealous, but he was just such an affable guy. You know, everybody loved him. And, you know, he got the nickname Say Hey. He never really said Say Hey.
Right.
He would just say Hey.
Yeah.
And somebody threw it on there.
The
But,
same. Yep. And
you
made
know,
a song out of it.
93 years old, great run, great life. And I would recommend, I'm probably a third of the way through the autobiography. I would recommend that. But your thoughts on he became a Bay Area legend out there where you are.
Absolutely. And well, let's not forget his return to the East Coast, play with the Mets. And that might be when I may have seen a glimpse of him on TV. Like, Willie Mays on the Mets uniform, but I was too young for the Giants, definitely in his teenage years. But living out here, for 20 some years, I actually wrote this too when he passed away. I said, you know what? I really, really regret I never got a chance to meet him. Um, it's just one of those scenarios where I'll be at Giants games, but he's over here somewhere, or he's maybe not there that night. I might have missed him by a night. And then the same thing with Willie McCovey. I never got a chance to meet him either, but I did visit his restaurant that he had out here, out in the burbs away from the city. But that was a nice restaurant. I actually got a memento from that restaurant that I still keep, and I said, okay, definitely after he passed away. But I did meet Vita Blue and had a great interaction with Vita Blue. Wanted to get him on our show, but just couldn't work it out. And then, of course, Barry Bonds is the other connection. I met Bonds, but it was kind of weird that I haven't really run into Barry since I've been out here. But when he was playing for the Giants and Dusty was his manager, I remember talking to him in Milwaukee. So it's just kind of funny how you could be right here in the periphery of all this, and it still feel like it's thousands of miles away.
Was Willie still living in the Bay Area?
Yeah, he was out here. Yeah, he was out here in I'm not sure exactly where, but he was out here, and he was, like I said, he was at he was at a lot of the games, but I don't know if he relocated back down south for the winter or not. You know how that is. These southern guys be like, I don't want to be up here in the winter, but for the most part, from my understanding, he was up here because I think his son would make appearances, and when they would have, sometimes they'll honor him, and he's just not really up to it to come to the event, things like that. So so he's still out here. Excuse me, he was still out here as far as I knew up until the end, and then he was supposed to go down to Alabama for that event, but he told them that he's not going to be able to do it. Then apparently he was hospitalized, and then that's when everything came to an end. But of course, they had a great celebration. It was a guy out here that said that he was going down there for that, and he was going down there for the of course, to honor Willie. And of course, the Giants played the Cardinals down there. And then after that game in Alabama, they resumed the series in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Now there's another big story that came out of that was the whole reveal by Reggie Jackson about what he went through.
Wow. Yeah, man.
That was deep. But some people felt like it was tempered when he said that Bear Bryant used a racial epithet to describe him, but he said, I think he said it in a good way, or that he was.
Yes. You can't say that in a good way, but I get what you're saying.
I said, Reggie, everybody was on you about, man, that was deep, Reggie.
But Mike, what he said about Birmingham still holds true.
Exactly.
That still holds true.
But it's almost like
you can hear it in his voice, man. He says hard for me to believe.
Exactly. But when you hear him say that, it's almost like all those Cowboys caping for Jerry Jones about when he was standing, at the school in Arkansas. It was like, oh, he just was trying to see what was going on. He wasn't part of that mob, Nobody wants to. We don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear Bear Bryant saying that N-word boy is what we need here.
Right. Yeah. Hey, and speaking of, we would be remiss. One of Willie's great teammates, Orlando Cepeda, passed away too. Yeah. I mean, think about they had Cepeda, McCovey, and Mays at one time in that line. That's a lot of pop, man, to have in your lineup. Plus the Dominican dandy Juan Marichal on the mound. Mm-hmm. So they won a championship. It's hard to believe they only won one with him out there. But
they didn't win any. The first championship here in San Francisco. Oh, yeah. I think the guys are saying something. Yeah, the first one out here was with Bochy, because that was the thing that they were.
That's right. He was in New York when he won that championship.
Yeah, they were in it in '62. But they lost. I can't remember who they lost to.
Maybe they lost to the Yankees.
Yeah, Yankees or somebody. Yeah, probably more than likely with the 23 they have. But yeah, so that's why it was such a big deal. That's why it was such a disappointment when Dusty lost. Right. 2002 team was loaded, and that rally monkey, and then of course the pitching just. Oh, I'm still mad.
But you
But
know
yeah,
what? I think it was harder to win a series back then because you had to win that pennant.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, you had to win that pennant then, because now these teams you can get in, you get hot, and
But you know what, Ricky? Some people say it's harder now because you could
I
end up
know some
losing
people
to a
say that.
wild card team, right? Somebody just got upset. They were the top seeded team, and they lost to a wild card team. They said, "Oh, you know what? I don't know if I like what Bud did because now some of the good teams, might just catch a hot team." And then I say, "Yeah, that's part of it. Same thing in football.
Yeah,
A wild card. All you need is one win."
I get the argument on that both
Yeah,
ways, but
exactly,
for me,
exactly.
yeah. So man, hey, thank you, Mr. Mays. Thank you, Orlando Cepeda. I mean, they really paved the way for these guys today. I mean, Mike, what would you pay Willie Mays today?
I know.
You have to give him the team. Okay, man, here. The team is yours.
But
And one more thing about him. He has 660 home runs. Mike, he missed 2 seasons.
I
I
know.
thought he just missed one. He missed two.
But then they also added a season because of the integration of the Negro leagues.
What's his home run record now? Then he was 660.
Yeah,
I'm trying to look.
I'm trying to remember if they added more home runs to the total or not. But I know it was like a weird dynamic where they said he played 24 seasons, and then it had like X amount of All-Star games, and they're like, wait a minute, how can he play that many All-Star games? He only played this many seasons. They said, oh, there was a time they played 2 All-Star games in the season. So some of those things kind of get confusing about the amount of years he played, what was added. I don't know if they added. He had to hit some home runs in the Negro League, but
He absolutely did. That's a great point. I'm
yeah,
looking on this page now, and it still has it with 660.
oh, okay, yeah,
So, oh, but he most definitely was hitting home runs uh, in Birmingham. And in reading the book, he didn't have the power that he would grow into because
right.
he
So
was a kid.
maybe he just was a line driver.
Yeah, that's what he was.
Yeah.
That's what he was. And as he got older, he got stronger.
And of course, the godfather of Barry Bonds. I mean, they
Yeah.
had all kind of pictures of Barry when he's a little kid, on Willie's knee or right next to
Oh
him.
man,
Yeah.
I saw some footage of them honoring Mays, and Barry was at the game, and he was so moved
Yeah.
doing that. You could tell that man meant a lot to him. And just but 93 years old, a great run, and
Yep.
you know he left a legacy, and his godson carried that legacy on because his godson is a Hall of Famer to me.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Barry Bonds, and arguably one of the best. He's definitely one of the best of all time.
Oh,
Well,
absolutely.
let's
Well,
let's
you know what? We'd be remiss though. We didn't mention Jerry West, and I'm not even sure if we mentioned Bill
have we
Walton.
covered Jerry? We've been gone that long,
I
Mike.
think we've been gone that long. Yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk about Jerry West, and then I believe we may have talked about Bill Walton, but if not, those two luminaries. And because I had mentioned on Facebook that I sent out resumes when I was a senior at TSU, and of course, there's no internet back then, but I sent resumes to all the NBA teams. And remember, at that time, they had just added those 4 teams, so now it's 27. And then a few years later, I think in the 90s, they added the 2 Canadian teams, and then they end up adding Charlotte later on. So they've added 7 teams since Michael first got in the league, when people act like that was the beginning of the NBA, 1984, because you look at these lists like
Right.
millennials, nobody played before 84 was any good. I'm like, come on. Including this coach for the Lakers. That's another thing we got to talk about too, dude. So anyway,
Right.
so Jerry West. But what I did was I sent resumes all over, and then I actually got a letter back, and it says, gave me credit on my credentials and all that, but said there's really no opening, but gave me praise. So I said, I appreciate you responding, and I said,
This was Jerry West.
This is Jerry West. Well, yeah, way back. This is 1989. So then I said, I appreciate you responding, even though it might have been a form letter from his staff, whatever. But
yeah,
still,
his name is on it, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So then I said, yeah, so you are my favorite number. You were my favorite number, and so I really have a lot of respect for you, of course, the Iceman, and I believe I said Reggie Jackson. I think those are and Hank Aaron. I think I said Hank Aaron, Reggie, and Ice. I think that's
those are some pretty good 44.
That's what I'm saying. All those 44, right? And that was that was my favorite number. I actually wore it my junior year. It was funny. My sophomore year, I had to wear number 32. I said, and then that was Magic though. So I said, okay, Magic is cool. But here's the one that's really crazy. When I was in small fry, this is back in the 70s, I wore number 23, way before. I think Michael was probably going through that nonsense where he was like not able to play on the sophomore team around that time. But at the time, Calvin Murphy was the big star wearing number 23. And I actually mentioned that to Calvin Murphy one time. I said, "You're the original number 23." When I was a kid, I remember that. Calvin Murphy. So, but yeah, so.
What did Calvin say when you told him that?
I just kind of I sent it on social media, so I don't think think he really responded, but he was making a statement about something else, and I just threw that out there, but I didn't really get a response back from him. I think I might have got a like or something. But was that?
I thought you may have saw him covering.
No. I've seen him in passing over the years, but yeah, I never really had a long conversation with him. So
yeah.
And then I missed out on a lot of stuff a couple weeks ago when I was scheduled to cover the Big Three again. But when we got to the last moment, they said, "Oh, yeah, there's no parking." I'm like, "What do you mean there's no parking?" It's not like it's like a distance where I can kind of like walk over to the arena and things like that. And they got a big parking lot. They still over there in the old Oracle. So then I looked at the pricing. They were talking about like $40 to like $80 a park. I was like, there is absolutely no way I'm going to cover this game and pay that amount for, basically an exhibition. So I missed out on talking to my guy Ice again and Doc and all those guys. And I saw them, MC Hammer and all those guys are there. So I missed out on that, but, it wasn't meant to be. I actually sent a little tweet, or I guess you call it an X now, to Ice Cube. I said, "Look, man, I was really ready to come cover that game, but your people, didn't take care of the parking. I mean, there's no way we should be covering the game and have to pay that much for parking."
Right, and you're the one that needs that coverage.
Exactly. So you missed out on a lot of publicity, I guess you could say, because I would have blasted that all over. But that's what it is.
But yeah, I'm sorry, Mike. The Tigers just actually hit a home run.
Yeah,
I stopped. I'm so surprised to see that. It's by surprise. Hey, let's get to some of the news of the day. And we'll go back from there. LeBron James has signed his deal with the Lakers, $2-year, $104 million deal, no trade clause. He can become a free agent next year. And with this deal, when this deal goes through, he will become the first player to earn over $500 million. So not only is he arguably the greatest player of all time, he's no doubt in my mind the greatest businessman of all time, and not just the NBA but sports. When you look at
and basically setting up empowerment for these guys. But
I was just about to go there.
Exactly. But just like Harriet Tubman went through, oh no, you're not right. You're not doing it right. Why would you even?
I don't get that.
It's just ridiculous the stuff that he deals with. But then it lets you know that mentality we still have. The chains and shackles are here for a lot of people, and it's like
for a lot of people.
Yeah.
The thing, and of course, his son Brian was drafted in the second round with the 55th pick.
Mm-hmm.
And people act like they took him with the number 2 pick in the draft, which in this draft probably wouldn't have mattered anyway because everybody's.
Thank you. You want to know the Bucks' first pick? I think he might have averaged less than Bronny. I'm just saying. Here's the
number one. Anytime you pick him in the NBA draft, really after the 6th or 7th pick,
right?
These days, that's a crapshoot.
Exactly.
It is a crap. In this draft, every one of those picks, it is we just don't know. We just don't know. Taking Bronny with the 5th, he did not take anybody's job. How do you take somebody's job with the 55th pick? Actually, they got a good pick. They may have got the best player in the draft with the 17th pick.
Well,
shows you how crazy it is. The guy Dalton Connect out of Tennessee. Yeah. Mike, I'm a Tennessee native.
Right. Hey, let me stop you. National champions.
Who's that?
Tennessee Volunteers.
Yeah, the Vols. I watched that. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So Vandy's had a couple, and now Tennessee. So
college, that was fun to watch. Yeah. And I gotta give Peyton Manning. He had the greatest line ever. I don't know if you haven't seen it, Mike. The games were at Omaha.
Right.
And he's in the state. You saw that?
No. I just can imagine because that's
what's coming though, huh?
That's what he should say for his audibles.
Yeah. The guy said, "Hey, Peyton, how you doing?" He said, "I'm doing great. It's always good to be in Omaha. I just love Omaha." That was hilarious. But man, I watched Tennessee basketball a lot. Connect can play. Yeah. I mean, I don't expect him to come in and score 25 a game, nothing like that. But he's going to help them, and they need to try to get DeRozan in there and get another established scorer, and you got to get somebody else besides the point guard. His name escapes me now.
D'Angelo Russell.
I mean, he is a nice kid when I hear his interviews and stuff. But you talk about I love your thing. Players have to prove it to you, just like Boston. They got to show me. He got to show me, and I'm at the point now. I just don't think he's capable. D'Angelo Russell showed me, so they got to get that fixed.
Well, going back to the DeRozan, they had a chance to get him when they did the whole Westbrook experiment. That's what I was really upset with that. I'm like, get DeRozan, stop playing around. Russell Westbrook's from the LA area, so is DeRozan.
DeRozan's from LA.
Yeah. All those, Paul George, all those guys are from that area. Kawhi Leonard. So, his homecoming has been like lukewarm. Think about this. That whole Clippers thing has been a failed experiment. They thought they were going to run up multiple championships, take over the city of LA. Now they got their new arena in Inglewood up to no good. So we'll see if the new arena changes things. But, think about it. They keep talking about how LeBron got everybody he wanted. He wanted Ty Lue to be the coach.
Right.
Right. And then that whole nonsense with the Connecticut coach. I'm like, come on, man, Hurley. So it's still the front office still is a mess, and I just think that people need to start saying, look, man, we got to stop always blaming LeBron for everything and saying that he's in control, because we've seen several moments where he's been saying, look, let's get somebody else here, and they've done nothing during free agency, during the season, and now during the off season. So now, if they don't get DeRozan, what are we going to do? Have to wait till the trade deadline in February or whenever it is? They move it around so much. So that's part of the deal where, they are banking on, well, we got a championship. Yeah, they got a championship despite you guys. You haven't done anything really that can merit a championship. And the guys that were on that championship team, y'all ran off right away. Think about that.
What is Zach LaVine's situation?
Injured too much and probably gonna cost too much. I don't know if I would take him on. I love his game, well, at least the dunking game part of it, but he's been too injury prone the last 3 or 4 years. So I don't know if that'd be worth it, because then you have the same AD situation. You have him and AD sitting on the sideline, with their suits on, or sweatsuits, or however they dress during the off game. So that's the thing you have to worry about. Injuries with AD was last year an aberration for him to play all those games, but still didn't get over the hump. But, my thing is, when people sit there and say, oh, they have no chance, I mean, this team has nowhere near, I said, dude, they lost to the Nuggets both years. So maybe that's their kryptonite. They lost to the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals. Then they lost to them again this year. So maybe Denver just has their number. Instead of just saying that they have no chance in the Western Conference, they probably could beat anybody else, but they weren't able to get Denver. And then we're going to find out it's OKC and Minnesota for real. Will they be able to run it back, or that be a one-hit wonder? So,
well, Oklahoma City signed Isaiah Hartenstein, who played well for.
That doesn't help the Knicks, because the Knicks, he was really helping the Knicks.
Yeah, so he will help Chet Holmgren, who's long but is not a very physical player. But I still, they were number 1 seed, but wasn't nobody scared to play them last year. In fact, the Lakers won the season series from them
there you go.
last year. So the Nuggets have had some key losses. They lost Caldwell Pope, who was really good for them. Bruce Brown, they lost him last year, who was really good for them.
Yep.
So I think the West is wide open, and I think the Lakers, even with the roster they have now, will be in the mid, because you still got, if LeBron and Anthony Davis are healthy, they are a force to contend with. I mean, even there's no doubt they got holes, but you still got them too, man.
Well,
and
they had a lot of injuries. Some of the bench players were injured most of the year. So will they be healthy?
So yeah, that's what's going on there. JB Bickerstaff, hired here in Detroit, never should have been fired in Cleveland, in my estimation, Mike. You talk about injuries. He went in the playoffs. He didn't have Donovan. Mitchell? Donovan Mitchell. He didn't have the center. I forget his name too. I'm forgetting everybody's name tonight.
With the perfect afro.
Right. Those are his 2 best players, and he gets fired.
Yeah.
And they won 48 games. They won 50 games the year before.
Well, guess what? Guess what Darvin Ham and the Bucks coach is saying? You preaching to the choir. I took them to the Western Conference Finals. We're in the playoffs last year, and you're gonna let me go and let this Duke smarmy coach with no experience take over. So I'm sure Darvin's, but Darvin's hired as an assistant with the Bucks.
He's back in Milwaukee. Yeah,
he's back in Milwaukee, and we know how much of a disappointment they've been.
So you obviously don't like the JJ Redick hire.
I think it's ridiculous. I think they hope that they can get lightning in a bottle. They hope that, it's like Pat Riley. So no, it's not like Pat Riley. Pat Riley, played there. Pat Riley, you could say, he was under the tutelage of Coach K, because Pat Riley, of course, had Adolph Rupp, but then he was also announcer for the Warriors, and he was on the bench too as an assistant. So it's not like he just came out of nowhere. Whereas you keep talking about how you coach fourth graders and things like that, and then your whole diatribe has been, oh yeah, these older players were plumbers and electricians and all that. They didn't play against anybody. So you basically disrespected the team that you're going to, because that team is based upon historical moments. Minneapolis, okay, one of the players you're probably talking about is Mikan. Mikan was the first dominant player.
Yeah.
I mean, they were the first dynasty. The Minnesota, if you think about it, Minneapolis Lakers, and then all of a sudden, Bill just transformed the Celtics into this great team. But then they say stuff like, and this is the thing I think people need to understand, Ricky. They say ridiculous stuff like, well, Bill had like 8 Hall of Famers. I say, okay, sometimes you guys got to look at it this way. If a player is that great, he makes those players into Hall of Famers. You think Scottie Pippen would have been a Hall of Famer on his own? He just happened to be playing with Michael, and they had one of the greatest runs ever. Okay? Just like how they're going to throw in Draymond and Clay are first ballot Hall of Famers.
Right.
Neither one of them would have been a Hall of Famer if they were somewhere else on their own.
Exactly.
So you can't sit there and say, well, Havlicek and even our frat brother Sam Jones and all those guys, it was Bill Russell that was the cornerstone of that dynasty. And then because they were so prolific, if you were a significant player during that dynasty, you're going to get up in there. Now, for the Bulls, Rodman would have been in there. He should have been there on his own, 7 rebound titles and Defensive Player of the Year twice. So he had his own thing. And, he was able to guard 1 through 5. So Rodman had the resume. Either he's with the Bulls or during the Piston time. But Scottie, definitely a part of that Bulls system. And I still think he's overrated. But, the fact that he's in the Hall of Fame is absolutely because of Michael.
Hey, speaking of Jerry West, check this out, Mike.
Redick, a current player who just recently retired, said that Bob Cousy played against firemen and plumbers, and Bob came on and wasn't too pleased. And, you played in that era, and those guys set the table for us to be where we are today. And I was just interested in your thoughts on comments like that about your generation and the generations that paved the way.
Well, obviously the game is completely different. The athletes are completely different. And I know JJ just a little bit. He's a very smart kid and everything. But tell me what his career looked like. What did he do that determined games? He averaged 12 points a game in the league. Somewhere along the way, numbers count. At that point in time, the players aren't what they used to be. JJ certainly wasn't going to guard the elite players. And so you can nitpick anyone. And I'm not, the only reason I'm talking about him is because he was not an elite player, but he was a very good player. But he had a place on the team because of his ability to shoot the ball. But those players at that era, and again, that was when I started to see the difference in athleticism. My era, I was an athlete way before my time. I had a huge vertical. Probably no one in the league was much faster than me. And certainly the competitive part of it, I would put myself among any player that played the game. Today also, winning is all that matters. That's what drove me. And I subtly got better every year. We didn't have the facilities to get better. We had to work in the summers to support our family. But AJ should be very thankful that he's made as much money as he's made and Bob Cousy, who I played against a couple of years, not very long. I just think it's very disrespectful myself.
And that's the guy you hired for your team.
Yeah.
The logo says that, and then of course he's quintessential with the Lakers. So that's why I said that hire was ridiculous, and they should have basically said, "Dude, just on GP, there's no way we're hiring you for the ignorant stuff you say." You know what I'm saying? It's just ridiculous. So, and then, I mean, no coof. You know, just ridiculous.
Yeah, just on GP, man. You ain't coming here.
So
No.
GP, like, dude, how do you think we're gonna hire you? You know how ridiculous this looks. You dissed basically all the people up there in the rafters for the Lakers, and then except for James Worthy, because he played in the 80s. You know, you might give Magic a little love. 79 came in, but anybody before that, you're not even giving any respect to. You're not giving respect to Elgin Baylor. Elgin Baylor was a super duper star.
You think JJ Redick could guard Elgin Baylor?
Oh, he couldn't guard it. He couldn't guard Cousy. The guy, I mean, see, and this is the thing about it. It's all relative. So if you think you're fast now, you would have to be the way you're ranked now against these players in your era, what might be the way you'll be ranked during that time, because you're gonna be pretty much at the same. It's not like you're going to have the facilities like Jerry said that they have now, the nutrition like they have now. You're going to be dealing with the same thing there. So maybe you're not going to be able to shoot like you shot at Duke and then in the NBA. Maybe you wouldn't have that tutelage or, like I said, that type of workout program where you'll have the energy to run around all those screens. So that's what I'm saying about it's nuances to it, and you know, it's all relative to whatever the time frame was. So during that time, Bill Russell was a rebounding machine, a defensive stalwart, and he made that Celtic dynasty. That's a legit dynasty. You won about 3 championships, maybe in a few years, but then nothing really after that, and you automatically call them a dynasty.
Hey Mike, let's look at the draft. I don't think we want just the draft. Were there any picks that you like?
Well, see, that's the thing about it. I mean, and it's funny because I mentioned this on somewhere else that it's the 30th anniversary of the draft I went to. I went to the 94 draft in Naptown, and that was because we had the number 1 pick. So, and then we picked the big dog. And I'm still upset about that year because there was such a ridiculous bias towards Grant Hill. The bias towards Grant Hill was so dramatic that he had more all-star votes, not only the rookies, but every single player in the NBA. And I'm like, what did he do at Duke that would garner this? The player of the year was the big dog. So you can't say, well, he was player of the year and he won a championship. No, you won as a freshman and a sophomore with Christian Laettner as the star. So I didn't understand it. And then when they get to the end of the year, Detroit's nowhere near the playoffs. Neither is Dallas. The Bucks missed the playoffs by 1 game. Big Dog League, all rookies in scoring. So they loved Grant so much that they overrated him. And Big Dog, they had disdain for him. Guess what happened after Big Dog's rookie year?
What's that?
They instituted a rookie salary cap. They were so mad that Big Dog got the $68 million, and they said, "Well, Joe Smith, nope, you're gonna maybe get $2 million." I forget what the salary cap was back then, but that's how much disdain they've had towards the dog. And because Dr. Tucker was his agent, I guess they didn't like him having a black agent. And then the fact that they threw out there the year before, they said the 1994 number 1 pick should garner $100 million. So then when Dr. Tucker said, okay, all right, Milwaukee, he's the number 1 pick. Where's $100 million? So then Herb Cole, the late Herb Cole, who was also a senator in Wisconsin, basically said, yeah, if I give him that much, I might as well give him the team. So now he looks greedy. Look at this. Look at this ghetto guy from Gary, Indiana, asking for $100 million and him with his black lawyer, you know? So they painted that imagery of him while they're painting Grant Hill as this savior coming into the league. His mother was roommates with Hillary Clinton in college. Grant Hill, the great Calvin Hill's the football star and all that. So he was like anointed all that just off the bat. And he was the third pick. Jason Kidd was the second pick. So Jason Kidd kind of was under the radar, but in order to really insult the big dog, they gave them co-rookie of the year. So, and as you can see, I'm still mad about that, but that's what I thought about, that it was intrigue in the drafts back then. This draft, I was like, all I'm waiting for is to see where Bronny's going. But a few picks before that, Harrison Ingram was picked. Now, Harrison Ingram was freshman of the year for the Pac-12 a few years ago, and then he ended up going into the portal and ended up in North Carolina. So when he was drafted by San Antonio, they said from North Carolina, but his first couple years he was out here at Stanford. So I was interested in seeing that. And then there was
what's his name again?
Harrison Ingram.
Okay.
And he's from Dallas.
It's amazing, man. I didn't know half these guys in this.
That's what I'm saying. I know him because of a connection. Like De Silva, I knew De Silva because his brother played for Stanford. So that's what I'm saying. I knew a handful of the players, but you go to the WNBA draft, I knew a great deal of them. Yeah. So it's funny how topsy-turvy things are. I remember I knew everybody in the draft, and they used to have a lot more rounds. Remember, they didn't go to 2 rounds until 89.
The pick I didn't understand Reed Shepherd going to Houston with the 3rd pick, the guard from Kentucky.
Yeah,
I don't see his game getting off in the NBA. Maybe. Hey, these guys know more than I do, but we'll see on that one.
Well, you know how it is, Kentucky. They figure that the coach he's developed all these pros, even though he hasn't won enough national championships to really garner the accolades that he gets for being such a great coach. Because at first Kentucky was like the one and dones looked pretty good, but then all of a sudden that started to wear thin. And then you started now getting more of the mid-majors with the upperclassmen staying there. They were starting to win, and Kentucky became irrelevant. And so maybe they think that he still has the magic touch to find future pro players.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of the WNBA, it was revealed yesterday that the WNBA All-Star is going to have an All-Star team to play against Team USA.
Right.
Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese will actually be teammates in this game.
Right.
And Mike, the WNBA has been getting record crowds so far this year.
Yep.
Obviously, a lot of attention on Caitlin Clark, who leads all vote getters with 700,000.
Yeah.
Almost 100,000 more than her teammate, Aaliyah Boston, and 100,000 more than Aja Wilson of the Las Vegas Aces. Your thoughts on what we're seeing in the WNBA?
Well, here's the thing about it. Think about this. All those people that think that, well, Caitlin should have been on there because they don't understand the marketing opportunity they're missing. Now, if she goes and lights up Team USA, then she can make her statement. Think about that. Let's think about she ends up being All-Star Game MVP. Let's say she gets like a 30-point triple-double and just lights up Team USA. You don't think they'll be hearing it for then? Yeah. But if she gets shut down and doesn't do much, then they can say, don't talk to us again about this Olympic team. Because you see she's not even really ready. But if she lights them up, it's going to get even a bigger outcry that why wasn't she on the team? and they'll be headed to Paris shortly thereafter. So,
Yeah, that game was playing on the 30th.
The player that really got snubbed, Enrique, on Dallas. As a matter of fact, I think she's playing before we got on the air, so I think she was going off then. So, but she might have a loophole to play for Team Nigeria. And so that's what some of these players should do. Is you guys gonna snub us from the USA team, then we're gonna go. If we got some type of lineage, we're gonna go play for them. Because think about 1976, Ricky. Butch Lee played for Team Puerto Rico. Team Puerto Rico almost upset that 76 team.
Butch Lee from Marquette.
Marquette, yeah, he's Puerto Rican. He's Puerto Rican, so he got to play for Puerto Rico. Even though he's from New York, but he got to play for Puerto Rico. Then the following year, he won the national championship with Marquette.
Yeah. How much do you think the media is playing a role in the Caitlin Clark-Reese?
Listen, let's not forget when this stuff all started up. Remember, I was right in the midst of this because you first started to hear stuff is when LSU won, and that was in Dallas, right? Ironically, Dallas, which has an All-Star game coming up. We can talk about that before we get off. But yeah, when they were in Dallas, that's when. So this is what irritates me is when they say that Caitlin is the reason why anybody knows who Angel Reese was. People forget she was the Bayou Barbie before anybody knew who Caitlin was. Because she was at Maryland, remember? She's from Baltimore. She was at Maryland, but she ended up going to LSU. And then she was getting all kind of double-doubles, just like how she's doing now in the WNBA. Matter of fact, if she gets one more, she'll tie Candace Parker for the most consecutive double-doubles. And then if she passes her, she'll have her own record. So if you get your own record, you better be Rookie of the Year. But I know they'll find a way to maybe have co-Rookies of the Year because I know they got to have Caitlin get Rookie of the Year to keep this this honeymoon period going. But yeah, so people knew who she was, and she's playing in SEC. Now, even though the Big Ten is known, but nobody's really paying attention to her. But then when they went on that run in the tournament, not this year just passed, but in 23, that's when everybody said, wow, this young lady's getting like 30 points a game and blah, 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 blah. So then it became a big deal. And then when they upset South Carolina in the Final Four, which I was right there, that's when she just blew up. But then everybody got mad at Angel because when they beat the Cinderella story of Iowa, they were like, most of America, certain complexion, they were upset and they said, well, I don't like the fact that, she did all this in her face. And then let's not forget what happened with the First Lady. They liked Iowa so much, they said, is there any way that Iowa could come too? You remember that?
Right. Yeah.
So that showed you when everything started to become this big deal about Caitlin. When you got the First Lady of the United States, say, yeah, we're going to break precedent and have the losing team come because this is America's sweetheart right here. So that's when it all started right there. Don't let people tell you like, oh, no, we've been knowing Caitlin since she was a freshman. No, that she became a sensation during that 23 run during the tournament. And then when they end up losing, like I said, they liked them so much they wanted them to come to the White House. So then coming back, all eyes is on her now. They said she's going to win the national championship this year. And then, of course, Angel, after having her, her big celebration all off season when she's getting all these NIL deals and getting Benzes and all that stuff. Then remember, when the season started, she Mulkey sent her home for a minute. Remember, she had a moment. She was away from the team. Everybody's like, "What's going on here?" So that messed her up for this year. And then everybody's like, well, Caitlin's going to be the player of the year, blah, 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 blah. But then people forgot South Carolina has still been the dynasty during this time frame, because South Carolina said we were upset by Iowa, and they really were upset because one of the players was almost like hesitant to shoot, and then Caitlin like backed off her and said, we don't have to worry about her. And she remembered that, and she talked about that during the after they won the championship. She said, yeah, I remember what they did to me, but they won't do that now because we're the champions. So that's how the whole thing got tied up. Even though, once again, Dawn won her third championship, the headline was Caitlin loses a tough championship. So it still was all about her, and then that's when you knew this is going to roll all into the WNBA.
And Mike, we just got a few more minutes left. I gotta get your thoughts on the run is over in the Bay Area with the Warriors. The Warriors said goodbye to Klay Thompson. What's the talk around town about that?
Well, of course, you got these so-called loyal Warrior fans, because I'm always suspicious of them. But they're upset. They're saying that they should have found a way to keep them. Some are kind of turning on Draymond and said, well, why'd they give Draymond the money, but they didn't want to give Klay the money? And then, a lot of people looked at it as Klay was hurt because he got benched. But then I say that sometimes I think Klay thinks he's better than he really was. Because, when they were talking about Klay was upset he wasn't on the top 75 list, I'm like, what did you do to put you there? I said, if we look back, what significant moments did you have in the finals? Those 4 championships you guys got, Klay seems like he disappeared. He pulled a Jason Tatum, where it's like, dude, where are you? You running your mouth, taking shots at LeBron, talking about, I think we hurt his feelings. And I was like, you doing nothing, but you talking trash. And then that's when the Cavs came back and won that. Came back from 3-1. And I said, people need to start blaming him for running his mouth instead of Harrison Barnes, and then also Draymond getting suspended. So, a lot of people love him because he had that charisma, I guess you could say, had his boat and his dog, and he'd be out there in the bay riding on his boat. So a lot of people say they'll miss that, and then Splash Brother and all that stuff. So there's people that are disappointed, but then some are blaming the Warriors and some are blaming, like I said, the signing. And then you get some saying, well, maybe you guys messed this whole thing up when you basically didn't respect Jordan Poole at all. You let him get punched and you guys blamed him, then you got rid of him. And you haven't done anything since then. And then, of course, some people saying, well, Wiggins, his ambiguous behavior lately has messed this up. So there's a lot of things that they're saying.
Is he going?
No, he's still down. Some people are saying, well, why are you going to try to keep Wiggins and all that? You should keep Klay. But Klay maybe past his prime, because he had some games where, especially that one game when he had 0. And that's when people say, you know what, he might be done. So the fact that Dallas is giving them all this money because they feel like if they can get a good portion of Game 6 Klay, as they call him, then that might get them over the hump because they couldn't hit any threes really against Boston. But a lot of that had to do with Boston's defense. But they're blaming basically pretty much Tim Hardaway Jr. because he's gone. I think he's in Detroit, right?
He got traded here, yeah.
So, he probably was a scapegoat in that situation because, remember, he wasn't even playing much. And then when he did get in, I think he didn't even score. So his confidence was shot. So I guess they said, you know what, you might have a nice tenure here, but we're going to have to run you out of here. So it's funny how when, somebody loses or they have a disappointing season, fingers get pointed in all directions. And
yes, they do.
Yeah, somebody usually gets to be the Teflon where, hey, it had nothing to do with me. But Klay, of course, and think about it. He didn't even want to be in L.A. where his father is, where he's from, and play for the historic Lakers. But, it could be that he thinks that, hey, this team was in the finals, and I can pull a Kevin Durant and come join the team, and then I can get credit for if they win again the championship.
It's going to be interesting to see how that works out. Hey, we only got a couple of minutes left, man. Your
Right.
floor, final thoughts?
Yeah, well, definitely. They announced the starters for the baseball All-Star game, and that's down in Arlington, and I'll be
That
there.
you're going to be covering down there.
Yeah, I'll be covering that. So I just have to see how much of it, because there's all kind of activities. This is the second annual, and please do not say first annual, because you say inaugural. Don't say first annual. But this is the second annual HBCU activity where they have players from HBCUs that come to the All-Star game. They did it in Seattle last year, which I should have been, but I didn't get to go there. And they either do a skills contest or they play a game. I have to really be there to see it, but that definitely would be something I want to be a part of, being a proud alum of Tennessee State. And then they have the celebrity game and the futures. That means the AAA guys, I guess, are playing. And then the celebrities, of course, would be Dallas celebrities and then also ex-baseball players. And they'll be playing a softball game on Saturday. Sunday, I think the baseball draft is going on. So that'll kind of be a reprieve to kind of like do other things. Then Monday's the home run derby. And then Tuesday will be the All-Star game. And so the starters are out today. And just to break it down to you, the Phillies have 3 starters. The Brewers have 2 starters, and the Yankees have Soto, who's playing well, and then, of course, the Judge, 31 home runs. He is having a very good year. So it should be interesting. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Betts, because Betts had his hand broken, so I didn't see him as a starter. I'm sure they might bring him on, but I don't know if he's going to be able to play or not, or will he be healed, or will Davey just say, look, we're trying to get a championship, so you might just have to sit this one out. So the Dodgers, of course.
Go ahead.
No, I just said the Dodgers, of course, are, a perennial team that they think was going to win it, but they've had some disappointments the last few years. And the Brewers actually have multiple players. So we'll see if the Brewers could finally get over the hump, because think about it. Out of my local teams growing up, they're still the only one never to win a World Series.
Hey, and next week, Mike, we need to talk a little bit about the Olympic Games that are coming up. And I'm really interested to see how the USA basketball team is going to, because a lot of people think they just not going to be walking over folks like they've done in the past.
Well, the thing about it, though, you think, and I just had a talk, Terrence and I were talking about this, and that's Terrence Mullins for you guys out there that we've had on the show several times. We're talking about how that 88 team wasn't as bad as they make it seem, but it was poorly constructed. But there's nuance to that, too, that I'll get into another time. But I said that there's going to be an NBA team that loses, then what is going to be our excuse then? And that happened 2004 when Larry Brown had the team, and he had Marbury and Iverson as basically the lead guys. And because a lot of people pulled out of that Olympics, people forget that was the first Olympics after 9/11, and people were worried about that region of the country.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why that team was kind of thrown together. And then he had the 3 big rookies on there, but they didn't play because Larry Brown doesn't like rookies. So that team was a mess anyway.
Well, we're going to get out of here, Mike. Thank you, brother. Always a pleasure. We'll be back probably next Wednesday again, Mike. But I hope everybody has a great holiday tomorrow and a weekend. I'm sure they're going to all make it long weekends. So enjoy. For my friend and frat brother, Mike Roberson, I'm Rick Hampton. Peace, everybody. Have fun. Thank you, Mike.
All right.
See you later, brother.
Yo.